Well, especially those who are sitting back rows. Okay, I know it's kind of a little sleepy time. But I'm looking at you. So it's 10 till 12 o'clock. So somehow if you have an appointment, so you have to sneak out at 12, don't feel too bad about it. We'll try to put sermon on church website somewhere after Tuesday or Wednesday, so you can catch up with us, okay? But it'd be better if you can stay with us. I believe today's scripture lesson from 1 Corinthians teaches us something about how to live as a community. The way to grow and live together as a faith community. I know some of us are better if they just do things by themselves, not actually doing with other people. Some of us may excel far beyond other people if you could just get the job, have to get the job done by yourself, not without having to do with other people. But church is a community, and church is family. So we have been called to walk as faith community, not just as individuals. And Paul, in Corinthian church, I need to kind of explain a little bit about the background of today's scripture lesson. In Corinthian church, there was an issue. And now Paul was addressing the issue, which was, in today's scripture lesson, what? Eating the food that has been sacrificed to idols. Corinth, at that time, was very diverse community. It's very busy with a lot of businesses going on and trades, people from different ethnicities and communities. So it's a mixed society. So people who are rich, who are poor, and people who are slaves and slaveholders. And especially the church in Corinth, the Corinthian church, it also reflected the demographics and the society composition. So in the same church, Corinthian church, they had predominantly new converts, Gentile converts. Gentile here means non-Jewish people. So also Jewish Christians were there, Jewish as born as Jews, who were following the law of the Lord, keeping all the laws of Moses, but later converting to Christianity, which means receiving Jesus as the Messiah. Because not all the Jews received Jesus as the Messiah. So Jewish Christians who not believe in Jesus Christ as the Lord, and Gentile converts. Corinth was in the region of Greece. So they were right next to Rome. But it's kind of town that you can see all those immoralities going on. And sexual immoralities were very widely accepted in that community. And also serving, worshiping many different idols. And if you can think about Greece, it was a place of philosophy as well. There were many philosophical sects and tracts. So people were very mindful and very into philosophical conversations. Is there anything new here? Something I have not heard before? So they'll be very curious about hearing that. So they will hear whichever they have not heard before, so they could learn. So learning is good, right? But a lot of times, the learning also at church does not bring something good out of it all the time. That's why the Bible in today's scripture lesson says, knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Knowledge puffs up, but the love builds up. So simply, my point for today's scripture lesson and sermon is this. Yes, we all like learning. And I like learning too. I like learning about you. I like learning about this culture, America, and whatever. But just accumulating all the knowledges and the information without having love in your heart, it fails. It's not about church. You can do it. Maybe you pursue it. But you may end up finding yourself in the wrong place. Certainly something not can be called church. Why? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So knowledge, especially to Corinthian church, was very important because they were living in that kind of society. By learning more, what was the kind of presumption? By learning more, you'll have better discernment. If you have more information, you can make better decision. Kind of assumption behind it is like that. Would you agree with it? If you know better, you can make better decision. If you have more information, certainly you can maybe lead a better life. If you look around, what about politicians we have? Do they know better than me about the world and politic world especially? They do. I believe they know better than me about political world or any kind of specific issues. They have more data. They have people serving them, helping them. Am I right? But does it necessarily mean because they have better knowledge and more information, they make better discernment, even better decision, and better actions? In Corinthian church, there were different people in one church. People who are of high social class, people from lower social class. People who are highly educated, who can defend, advocate, whatever they are thinking about, but also break down whatever others are thinking about, right? If you have more knowledge, sometimes that's what we see happening. Because I know better, I can argue and win over you. Sometimes you feel, well, he doesn't sound right, but it seems like I cannot defend myself because he knows better sometimes on certain subject. Sometimes that's how I feel too. Even though I speak English, my English is not perfect. There are many terms and jargons, or there are many colloquials. So I cannot follow. Sometimes some people try to explain to me something I don't think quite right, but I cannot argue back because I don't know those terms. I don't know those languages sometimes. But you can feel whether this person is really speaking or telling right thing or wrong just by your heart. Right? You may not understand by your head, but you cannot feel it by your heart. So in Corinthian church, there were people who say, we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge. Okay? I have the knowledge, some would say. And especially on the subject, an issue of eating food that had been offered and sacrificed to idols. You may not have that kind of experience here in America, but when I was growing up in Korea, we had that going on because ancestral worship was part of the culture. Has any of you watched Coco, the movie Coco? Okay, some of you have watched Coco. Great. So the one scene that really caught my attention was this animation movie for children, a very touching movie. But I think the setting is in somewhere Mexico, Latino community. In one scene, the Coco is actually a lot of ghosts are coming out. It's about the main characters actually are people who passed, who are deceased. So there it goes. The belief, in that movie is that in that Latino culture, the deceased ancestors will come to visit their descendants who are in this world once a year. And as they are coming over this way, you have to have their picture put up somewhere, and then you have to remember them. If you forget them, they cannot come over this way. There should be one person at least that can remember that deceased person. And then also, you should kind of spread some flower petals on the floor. And one of the scenes actually that really kind of taught me was that in a cemetery, a public cemetery, there are many graves and tombstones, and there are many foods set up before each tombstone. And then all those deceased ancestors' ghosts will come over on that day and then kind of visit one's own tomb, one's own grave, and then kind of take over the food that has been prepared there for them, and then take it over and bring it over to the other side of eternity. Kind of faith, Christians say, no, it doesn't make sense at all, nonsense, but it has been believed and practiced in many different cultures, including Korea. So when I was growing up, big issue was this. If you don't make a big bow at the tomb of your ancestors, you are disrespectful of your ancestors, including your parents. You are dishonoring your ancestors, your family. So when, I'm second generation in Christianity, as you have heard from my father-in-law last Sunday, previously. He's first generation in faith. Until his generation, nobody was Christian in his family, but he was the first one who converted to Christianity. My parents too. They had to cut the line, bond from their hometown, home family, their relatives, sometimes immediate families, because of faith. And I was born in a Christian family. I didn't have to do it. More likely, I'll be kind of told, I'll be chastised by my mom if I don't go to church. Maybe you might have been in the same place. But for my parent generation, or some of them, they were disciplined, they were punished if they go to church. Very different. Am I right? In Corinthian church, most of them were new converts. Gentiles who were following, worshiping idols until they converted to Christianity. Until they received the gospel, they were worshiping idols. How they would do it? They would go to temples of different idols, and then they would make sacrifice, animal sacrifices, and then burn some of them, and then the rest of it, maybe the worshippers will kind of partake and participate in eating of the animal, or also part of the animal meat will be taken out to the meat market in the community, and people will go and buy those meats for food. So these people, for them, just looking at the meat that had been offered and sacrificed to idols, when they go and take it, it reminds them of what? It reminds them of their past. You know what? I was sacrificing animals to idols before. I was there worshiping idols. Now I'm serving God, the only God, but still, whenever they see the meat and even see other people eating that meat, it reminds them of their past, their sinful past. I had a chance to minister alcoholic parishioner before, and I was not an alcoholic, so there are a lot of things that I don't relate to well. But my observation, my experience was this: I can just drink a cup of wine, I can just drink a can of beer and stop there. Why? Because if I drink more than that, I'll have stuffy nose, I cannot breathe well, I have some allergic reaction to it. So I'll not go beyond that. Even I can just stop anytime I want, even though I drink beer or wine, right? But I found out that that person could not do it. That person could not do it. He cannot just stop drinking one can of beer. It'll lead to another can. That'll lead to another can until he just empties all those cans in the refrigerator and then pass out. So, can I just go and tell him that, I have knowledge. I know this. You can stop just with one can of beer. Why? It has been proved maybe, and I can say this and that with bringing my own knowledge, own information. I can tell you, you should do it and you must do it, you can do it. It's your willpower. I may have some good information, but I don't truly know him, right? So I could say like that. That's not right. That's not right. So let's say there was a man in a restaurant, and then the man had two little boys. Boys, they are not sitting still. And then in a restaurant, public place, the boys are just running around, and people, next table, looking at them. So the father shouldn't be just allowing them to do that. Something is wrong with that father, right? And the father must do something. He should be responsible for his children. So let's say one of you guys, sitting next table came over and say, hey, you are their father? Yes. You should do something. This is public place. Better. You should know better than that, right? Then what if the man told you, I'm so sorry, I just lost my wife, and these children lost their mom. We just were coming from a funeral. Not true story, just illustration, right? But how would you respond if you heard that? Oh, you have information, you have the common sense, you have good knowledge. In the public place, you should not be behaving like that. But now, knowing that person and his life, would you respond and react the same way you did? So, when we only have head knowledge, information, that makes us what? That makes us puffed up. I know things, certainly better than you. You can say that. Because I know better than you, you should listen to me. Or because I know better than you, I will tell you what to do. The Bible says that does not build up. That does not build up. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If you can think about somebody in your life who have impacted your life so tremendously in a positive way, can you just think about one person or a couple of people? Have they been so meaningful to you because they knew better than you, because they had a lot of knowledge and wisdom, or because they were loving? One big mistake sometimes we make is this: if I only know better, if we only know more, we can make this world heaven, or we can make our lives better. We can even build up one another. No. Without love, only if you have information, you can use that information and that knowledge for what? For deceiving other people, taking advantage of other people. That's what we see in this world all the time. It's not because those who are living up there are not because they are less educated. They are highly educated, but why are they making all those bad decisions? Because there's a problem in their heart. So I want to put it this way: head knowledge and heart knowledge. Because knowledge itself is not a bad thing at all. The Bible says, especially in Hosea, let us press on to know the Lord. The Bible says, let us know God, which is knowledge, right? Good knowledge. We need to know God. And also in Philippians, Apostle Paul says, I regard everything as lost because of the surpassing value of knowing Jesus Christ. The surpassing value of knowing Jesus Christ. The knowledge of God, knowledge of Jesus Christ is so important, so valuable to us. So knowledge itself is not a bad thing at all. But when the knowledge does not have love in it, it only brings up problems. Because it does not build up. What does it do? In today's scripture lesson, it says, it destroys. It destroys. With that knowledge, because we have that knowledge, we destroy other people, the Bible says, who have weak conscience. So, in Corinthian church, people who claim to have knowledge, they said, you know what? There's no such thing like idols. Am I right? There's no such thing like gods. Because what? There's one and only God, our God. All those woods and stones carved out, right, crafted, those are nothing. They're not true gods, right? So if somebody offered sacrificed animal to those gods, and then you may think it has been offered to them, but it's just meat. You can eat it. If you eat the meat, you're going to be strong, right? It's only food. But those who have had those kind of past, who have participated in idol worshiping, thinking that, oh, this meat will be taken and received by my God at that time. It defiles, it hurts their conscience. And the Bible says, the Paul says in the Bible, because you have that knowledge, if you persist on eating that meat, and then, or even trying to help other people to eat those meat, saying, you know, you must eat this meat without having any problem in your conscience. Why? If you feel a different way, that's because you have wrong knowledge, because you are wrong, right? The Bible says that destroys those people for whom Christ died. Christ died for them, but you destroy them, that means you are committing sin against Christ. A lot of times we feel like we are doing right thing. We're doing right thing by saying something, right? This is right thing, so I say it to you. Why? Because it's the right thing. It's true. But something you may think as true may destroy someone else's life, faith, relationship with Jesus Christ. So then what are I supposed to do? Do we just get rid of all the knowledge? No. Knowledge is important. But the thing is this, not just head knowledge. We should have heart knowledge. I want to say heart knowledge. Why do we need heart knowledge? Because God is what? God is love. Our God is love. Can you understand love with only your head? All the information, you can Google love and all those information pops up. You know what? This is love. Can you pinpoint, this is love? Can you explain it to other people? If you once have love in your heart, if you love someone, you can explain it in many different ways. You don't have to Google it, right? But only have knowledge. Because God is love. We can only know God when we have love in our heart. Does it make sense? So, knowledge just here makes us puff up. But true knowledge that's combined with love in our hearts, build one another. Jesus said, all the world would know that you are my disciples if you do what? If you know the Bible? If you attend church? No, if you love one another. Jesus said, if you love one another, the world will know that you are my disciples. As we enter 2018, we have many ministry opportunities among us. Mission opportunities, Bible studies, small groups. I'm really big on discipleship. But how can we say that, oh, this person is on the right track of discipleship? If one person recites more Bible verses, can we say, now he is better disciple than before? How can we say that? We can say when we can embrace more people in our life. When we even go to the point of loving our enemies, then we can say, I'm growing as Jesus' disciple. Why? Because my love is growing. My love is growing. Not just my knowledge here. So our Lord invites all of us to stay in love with Him and to grow with love with Him. And I hope all of us can go this way together this year. Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we love you. Even with this little love, Lord, we have in our heart, we want to confess to you, Lord, we love you. Help us to understand more about you because we love you, Lord. Keep us your way so we can love one another as your disciples. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please stand with us as we sing our closing song, Mighty Descender, because these words are great for us to remember as we go out into our week. How wonderful God is, but also that He is there to save us from whatever we're going through.
Jesus conquered the grave.
So take me as you find me.
So take me as you find me, all my fears and failures. Fill my life again. I give my life to follow everything I believe in. Now I surrender. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave.
Shine your light.
Shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Jesus, shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Jesus, shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Jesus, shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Jesus, shine your light and let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King.
So we all walk this faith journey together. And I want us to know, this faith journey is not about accumulating more knowledge. This is more about loving. Loving more people, and loving God more, and loving one another more. I know we cannot do it with our own power, but God enables us. As we seek of His will, He enables us so we could love everybody God brings to our neighbor. May the love of God the Father and the grace of His Son Jesus Christ and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all.